America's national debt is at its highest level since World War II, and most people don't realize what that really means for our future. Every decision we make today affects generations to come, and right now we're on an unsustainable path. Imagine carrying a backpack so heavy you can barely move. This is what the next generation will face if debt keeps rising. It's not just numbers on a page, it affects jobs, wages, and even the opportunities your kids will have. You might think inflation is under control, but even small changes in prices, like groceries or gas, can make life feel more expensive. In January, inflation eased slightly to 2.4%, which is good news, but it's still something we need to watch closely. Prices for everyday essentials are still rising, and Americans are feeling the squeeze. The combination of rising debt and persistent inflation paints a picture that's more serious than most headlines let on. It's not just about politics, it's about your life, your family, and the economy you rely on every day. Understanding the numbers behind national debt and inflation is the first step toward realizing why decisions made today will shape tomorrow. The latest report shows U.S. inflation has cooled to 2.4% in January, slightly better than expected. That's a small relief after months of high prices, but it doesn't mean life is suddenly cheap. Everyday costs like groceries, gas, and energy still pinch wallets, and many Americans feel the weight of rising expenses. Food prices are still climbing, though slower than before. Cereal, bakery items, dairy, and meat all went up, while fruits, vegetables, and beverages saw smaller increases. Even energy costs are mixed. Gasoline prices fell, but electricity and natural gas are still rising, adding to household bills. This shift in inflation gives the Federal Reserve some breathing room, but policymakers are watching closely. Interest rates are likely to stay steady for now, and the economy's growth and jobs market will determine the next moves. For everyday Americans, this means a cautious hope. Prices may ease, but budgeting and financial planning remain more important than ever. America's national debt has reached its highest level since World War II, and projections show it will keep rising unless major changes are made. This growing debt is not just numbers on a page. It affects every American, especially the younger generation, who will bear the burden of past decisions if fiscal policy doesn't change. The debt is driven by several key factors. First, the aging population increases spending on Social Security and Medicare as more Americans retire and live longer. Second, healthcare costs continue to rise faster than inflation, with federal spending on Medicare and Medicaid projected to grow significantly over the next decades. Third, interest costs on the debt are climbing rapidly, threatening to crowd out investments in infrastructure, education, and research. At the same time, federal revenues are insufficient. The tax system is complex and full of loopholes, failing to generate enough income to match promises made in spending programs. Without reform, deficits will grow, putting the economy at risk and reducing opportunities for investment and innovation. High debt has real consequences. Interest payments alone are expected to total trillions over the next decade, leaving less money for public services and private investment. Economic growth could slow, wages may stagnate, and national security could be weakened. The safety net for the most vulnerable Americans is also at risk if the government cannot maintain a sustainable budget. But there is hope. Stabilizing the national debt, improving fiscal policy, and investing wisely can create stronger economic growth, higher incomes, and more opportunities for Americans. Americans can take action by staying informed, contacting lawmakers, and supporting policies that put the nation on a sustainable fiscal path for the future. If we fail to address the national debt, the consequences will be felt across every part of the economy. Interest costs will continue to rise, consuming larger portions of the federal budget and leaving less funding for critical public investments like education, infrastructure, and research. This crowding out effect doesn't just hurt government programs, it also limits private investment, making it harder for businesses to grow, innovate, and hire new workers. A weakened economy reduces confidence in markets, slows wage growth, and limits opportunities for families. High debt can even threaten national security as fewer resources are available to maintain defense capabilities and global influence. Social programs that support the most vulnerable Americans could also be imperiled, putting millions at risk if the government cannot maintain a sustainable budget. But there is hope. Stabilizing the national debt, improving fiscal policy, and investing wisely can create stronger economic growth, higher incomes, and more opportunities for Americans. By investing wisely and reforming the tax system, the nation can ensure a more secure financial future while protecting essential programs and opportunities for all citizens. The good news is that America's fiscal challenges are not unsolvable. We have the tools and knowledge to put the nation back on a sustainable path, but it requires action from policymakers and awareness from the public. Stabilizing the debt, controlling spending, and ensuring revenues align with promises made are critical first steps. These measures can create conditions for faster economic growth, greater opportunity, and improved quality of life for all Americans. Every individual has a role to play. Staying informed about the national debt, understanding the economic impact of rising interest rates, and advocating for responsible fiscal policies can influence change. Contacting your senator or representative, sharing insights with your community, and supporting initiatives for long-term fiscal solutions can collectively help steer the country toward stability. The choices we make today will directly affect future generations. By prioritizing sustainable economic policies, we can protect social programs, strengthen national security, and create a more prosperous environment where businesses thrive, wages grow, and Americans enjoy greater financial security. The path forward is challenging, but with informed decisions and collective effort, a stronger economic future is within reach. Taking action isn't just about numbers, it's about protecting opportunities, ensuring fairness, and building a resilient economy that benefits everyone, today and in the decades to come. Keeping inflation under control is just as critical as managing the national debt. The latest data shows that U.S. inflation eased to 2.4% in January, slightly better than expected. Prices for shelter, food, and energy slowed down, giving consumers some relief. Core inflation, which excludes volatile items like food and energy, also declined to 2.5%, signaling stability in the broader economy. Lower inflation helps families afford everyday essentials like groceries, gas, and housing. It also means that interest rates are less likely to rise sharply, reducing borrowing costs for homes, cars, and education. A stable inflation rate supports long-term planning for businesses, encourages investment, and boosts consumer confidence. However, challenges remain. While gasoline prices fell, electricity and natural gas costs are rising. The Federal Reserve will continue to monitor economic indicators closely, balancing growth with inflation control. Policymakers have tools to maintain stability, but vigilance is required to avoid setbacks. By understanding inflation trends and the factors driving price changes, Americans can make informed financial decisions. Staying aware of policy moves, market shifts, and cost of living changes ensures individuals and families can protect their purchasing power and plan for a secure economic future.